Did Supercell fix gears? Will this video be my final video talking about gears? I hope so. I really hope so. I'm KairosTime. It is time for my 100% honest review of the most recent update. And as you guys know, this is how it goes. I'm going to be 100% honest with my thoughts whether or not Supercell likes it and whether or not you guys like it. And at the end, I'll rank this video on a scale from 1 to 10. I'm just going to start out with it, guys. Supercell did a great job with this update. I really think they deserve props for listening to our feedback so well, okay? Like, seriously, they get so much flack from the community whenever they make a small mistake. We got to give them their props, right? Absolutely. They did such a fantastic work at reworking the gears. They did such a great job with it. And in the past, I did a video where I talked about the 10 issues with gears. Well, in this video, I get to talk about all the reasons why I think they nailed the gear rework. But I'm sure you could probably guess that I still think some improvements could be made. Not huge ones, just little ones, but I'll talk about that later in this video. Obviously, we'll talk about everything else coming in this update as well, and I'll end it by rating the update on a scale from 1 to 10. But first, I want to give a big thank you to Blizzard for sponsoring this video. Diablo Immortal is a mobile RPG where the more you fight, the more you loot, and the more you gain. Click the link in the description below to download the game now. Now, Diablo Immortal just released the Forgotten Nightmares update, which added a ton of stuff into the game. The Silent Monastery is an entirely new dungeon that is only for players level 60 or higher, which is awesome for players like me who have spent a lot of time playing the game. It's particularly challenging because the dungeon is super dark and you have to light up statues to give your party a better chance of defeating the dungeon boss, who is very hard to take out. But if you do take him out, you'll get some really great loot. And a new update means a new battle pass. Scions of the Storm includes a ton of awesome new things to unlock, like legendary gems, crests, hilts, and more. And I'm actually free to play in the game, but you can also purchase the Empowered Battle Pass, which comes with some awesome exclusive cosmetics. But we've just scratched the surface of what came in the update. Castle Sirengar is a massive addition to warbands, and on top of that, we got a new Heliquary raid boss and a whole lot more. Like I've said, I've played a bunch in my spare time because I like the game so much, and it's a great time to download it. So click the link below, and once again, a huge thank you to Blizzard for sponsoring this video. Man, gears, I just can't stop talking about them. So let's talk about all the reasons why the gear rework was so good, and then we'll talk about the bad. The biggest, the number one, the most important improvement that they made is that they made them significantly cheaper. Now, this change actually happened in the previous update when they cut gear prices in half, but even after the update, they are still relatively cheap to craft. It's so nice. At least the super rare gears are. I'll share my opinions on gear rarities a little bit later on. Now, it would be nice if there was a small chance to get gears for free in the Brawl boxes, so it's consistent along with gadgets and star powers. But even though there isn't a way for that to happen, I'm very happy with the cost of gears. The first big issue with gears was that they were too expensive, and they improved that, right? And so that's fantastic. The second biggest improvement to gears, in my opinion, is the fact that it finally makes sense for Supercell to release more gears in future updates. In fact, Supercell basically said in the patch notes that they plan to release new gears with every future update. It might not happen every now and then, but that's their plan. And I love this so much because I think that everyone can agree that the first 5 gears that were released were honestly just a little bit boring. Kind of a lot boring. It was the same 5 gears for every single brawler. It was boring. And that in itself is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Just to be clear, I don't want gears to be crazy strong, because the stronger that they are, the more pay to win the game will feel to anyone who doesn't have them. But because they cost so much in the past when they were released and they were pretty small buffs, it kind of felt like Supercell was asking us for a ton of extra progression without giving us equal benefit. And now that they can release more gears in the future, with gears being cheaper to craft, we will now get more content for several brawlers every update at a reasonable cost. So we are actually getting content for the additional progression that we are getting. Seriously, just think about this. Supercell can release one epic gear and all of a sudden 10 brawlers have a new ability that could have a big impact on how you play them, or which gadget and star power you might pick for them, right? I just think it's awesome, okay? It's fantastic. The third big improvement in this update surrounding gears was the refund of scrap and gear tokens. This was massive on Supercell's part. They could have gone for a 1-to-1 trade. In other words, they could have calculated the refund so that one level 3 gear before the update would be one super rare gear after the update, right? They could have done that. Or they could have calculated the refund so that one power 3 gear before the previous update, where they cut gear costs in half, would give you 2 super rare gears after the update. Honestly, I think everybody would have been fine with that. Like a 1-to-1 trade is all I was expecting, right? The most I could have asked for was like maybe a 1.1 trade, right? But instead, they gave us a 1 to a 1.63 trade. We benefited with a bonus 63% gold, which is just insane. I mean, come on, right? I've been calling Supercell out on gear since they were very first released, and I wasn't even asking for more than a 1-to-1 trade. If I was, like I said, a 1 to a 1.1 trade, maybe a 1.2 trade, right? But an additional 63% gold. If you guys ask me, honestly, I feel like that's Supercell's way of saying, hey, yeah, guys, we know that we messed up with the gears for the first time, so we're just gonna give you this little extra gold. They're almost bribing us for like, it's like their peace offering. And I will take it, right? This is proof that the Brawl Stars developer team is willing to make up for their mistakes, and they genuinely want to make it up to us. They want to make us excited about their game. They want to make a game that all of us really love playing in every aspect, right? And it's another piece of proof that everyone will probably just forget about the next time they don't like something that Supercell does. That's just the way things go, right? In all seriousness though, Supercell, thank you. It really does mean a lot. The fourth thing I'm excited with this update when it comes to gears is that Supercell gave everyone a clean respec for all of our gears. One of the biggest issues that I had with gears in the past is when Brawl Stars reworked the health gear and the resistance gear. That was 2 of the 5 brawlers that they released. Before the changes, the health gear was good on brawlers with low health, and after the changes, well, the health gear was good on brawlers with lots of health. So many of us were stuck with health gears on brawlers that the gear was just bad on. The same exact thing happened with the resistance gear when it was replaced with the vision gear. We were stuck with a bunch of brawlers with a useless vision gear on them because they had such short ranges that it was at that point you can already see brawlers in the bush, right? I think that Supercell realized that they have to be a little bit more careful when it comes to reworking gears like that, and I hope that it doesn't happen again in the future, at least not without some sort of a refund like that. Like if they're gonna rework a gear completely from scratch, I feel like they should just refund it to us, anyone that we have crafted, similar to the way that they did in this update. Either way though, they did make up for it with this update by giving everybody a complete refund to all of the gear, scrap, and tokens so that we can recraft them however we want. So another big props to Supercell. The fifth thing I'm excited about for the gear rework is that we can craft whichever gears however we want. Gear tokens are no longer limiting us, and we have full control over making them ourselves, which is just awesome. It makes so much sense. The sixth thing I'm excited for is that they got rid of scrap and gear tokens, and they made it so that we would just buy them with gold like everything else in the game. Honestly, like I understand, okay? Crafting gears was cool. I like building stuff, I like crafting stuff, but it led to some weird economy issues because players would have hundreds of thousands of gold coins before they would ever have enough scrap to actually max out their account. So they're spent with all of this gold, and it's weird. And also tying it all into just gold means that we have 2 less currencies to worry about, and that simplifies the game's progression economy. Unfortunately, I still don't think that Supercell should be 100% done with gears yet. At least not yet, okay? These are small things. And honestly, I hate to even mention it right now because I'm so happy with the gear rework. I really want you guys to know that. But this is my 100% honest update review. I'm not unhappy with it. I'm really happy with it. I really am. I just need you guys to know that. There are some things that I hope they are still willing to change, okay? Thankfully, these are some easy changes, okay? For starters, the damage gear is the go-to best gear for like 90% of the brawlers, right? It just provides more value than any other gear does for pretty much all the time. In fact, with a couple of exceptions, I could confidently say, hey everybody, your first gear for every single brawler should just be the damage gear. And 90% of the time, that's gonna be correct. The next is the speed gear, which is the second best for like, I don't know, maybe like 70% of brawlers. Even on maps with just a few bushes, this gear provides a lot of value. All you need is a 4x4 section of bush for that speed gear to like make it just impossible for enemies to hit you because you're so fast you can dodge everything, right? Thankfully, these are pretty easy fixes, right? Supercell can either nerf the damage in speed gear or they can buff the other super rare gears. It's a really easy fix. What's tricky here though is that not all of the super rare gears are actually good on every brawler. In fact, that's actually true of every single one of the super rare gears except for the damage gear. The vision gear, pretty much useless on close range brawlers. The health gear, not good on low HP brawlers. The shield gear, not good on high HP brawlers. The speed gear isn't good for throwers, at least not in comparison to other gears for throwers. There are exceptions to these rules, but I really find it odd that you can craft gears on brawlers that they're just bad for. If you're a completionist, you can't technically have every brawler maxed out without crafting gears that you will never use, and they will very likely never be good on that brawler. So like, I don't know, maybe this isn't as big of a deal as I'm making it sound. After all, most people just won't craft them unless they are completionists, in which point they have to like choose to just be fine with wasting their gold on stuff. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of this can just be addressed with balancing, but I would suggest that Supercell would actually remove one of the 5 super rare gears from every brawler in the game. They already have it so that mythic gears can be equipped to just 1 brawler. Epic gears can be equipped to 10 brawlers. Why not make it so that super rare gears can be equipped by most of the brawlers? Supercell could select the least useful super rare gear for every brawler, and then players could craft 4 super rare gears on their brawlers that are currently meaningful for that brawler. Then again, someday in the future, if they are releasing a new gear like every single update, or 4 gears every single update, they could get to the point where every brawler has 2 to 3 epic gears and a mythic gear to craft. And at that point, maybe none of this will actually be applicable. So also, I also wanted to say that this feedback doesn't even actually really apply to myself personally. After the gold refund, I had enough gold to craft every single gear on every brawler by a long shot. Now I know that I am in the highest, tippiest, toppest percentile as far as people that are actually, when it comes to spending money on the game, and I understand that. So either way, I'm curious to know what your guys' thoughts are, if this is a big deal or if it's not. If you don't really care, if you're like not a completionist or whatever, just let me know in the comment section below. And if you don't, I'll just assume you don't care, which is completely fine and honest. Okay, let's talk about gear rarities. I actually don't have too much to say about this. I like the concept of gear rarities. It's kind of cool. My big hope is that we're not paying for power with them. In other words, a mythic gear costs 2 times as much as a super rare gear, and my hope is that they're not supposed to provide 2 times the value of a super rare gear. I think that this is not the case. I think the team's take on it is similar to how they're planning on handling brawler rarities, right? Mythic brawlers aren't inherently stronger than super rare brawlers. They just have more unique and cool abilities, and so like they can compete against each other just fine. As long as Supercell balances the epic and mythic gears so that they're supposed to be as strong as the other gears, I'm actually fine with them costing more than super rare gears. I do wonder if 2 times the cost is too much, but then again, they did actually refund us 1.63% of the previous gears that we had. So like, you know, maybe it actually makes sense. Either way, as long as you can compete with a super rare gear, I'm fine with it. And to be clear, I actually think that this is Supercell's plan. I think that this is not an issue that I should even really have to talk about in this video. Because yeah, maybe the reload speed gear is one of the better gears for all the brawlers that it's useful on. But, you know, I actually think there's an argument to say that it's not. I did not put it on Sprout. And, you know, in my video where I actually recommended the best 2 gears for every single brawler in the game. And so, you know, I like that. That's good. Okay, I got one more thing to talk about with gears. In the past, one of my biggest pieces of feedback was that gears should be equipable on any brawler once you have crafted them. And I was fine with that even if that gear cost like a significantly more to craft, so long as you could equip them on every brawler once that gear was crafted. Keep in mind that when I came up with this idea, gears had different levels. There were 3 different levels, and they were ridiculously expensive to craft. And also, we only had 1 rarity for gears. The big reason why I suggested that gears would be equipable on all brawlers in the first place is because the old gear system wouldn't allow Supercell to create new gears without massively expanding the progression requirement or the progression cap on all brawlers. With this new system, the fact that different rarity gears can only be equipped on a limited number of brawlers is actually huge. And like, that's very different. We have different rarities. And so like, it's a very different system. If I had to choose between the version of gears that I proposed and the new gears after the update, honestly, I think they're like equally good. They both accomplish the same thing, and they both address the 10 issues with gears that I had when I talked about that in one of my videos. Do I think gears are 100% perfect with the new system? I still think they need to address like rebalancing some things, which they will do, but I do think that Gears 2.0 are essentially 100% better than the old system. In fact, I am really happy with how Gears will actually impact Brawl Stars in the future, and I'm especially thankful to the Brawl Stars team for listening to our feedback and acting accordingly, even though they didn't even plan on improving gears until next year. Like, you guys might forget that at one point they said, hey, we're gonna focus on gears next year or later, right? And so, like, seriously, huge props to Supercell for doing this and for doing it in such a great way that addresses all of our concerns. Before we move on, I just wanted to briefly mention the 90% buff to gold in Brawl boxes to make up for scrap and gear tokens no longer being dropped in Brawl boxes. I think this is absolutely fantastic, and I'm really thankful that Supercell caught this before the update, because I think that there were some people, in fact, I did see a Reddit post of somebody saying, or being concerned that Supercell would not address this issue, okay? I actually took the time to calculate how much of a gold buff we would need in order for it to be a 1-to-1 comparison, and I calculated a 94% buff to gold in Brawl boxes. But the one thing I did fail to account for is the fact that new players would not start unlocking scrap and gear tokens until after they got a brawler to power 10. With this change, they will actually have, like, new players will have a significantly larger amount of gold to upgrade their brawlers early on, and hopefully progression will actually feel better for everyone, okay? And for anyone that's not a new player, the 63% gold buff from the conversion is way more than the Brawl Stars team needed to give us. And, like, honestly, nobody should be unhappy with that missing 4%, right? Because it would take, by my estimates, about 15 years of playing before you're missing out on that 63% gold buff that, like, they get, that is gonna make up for it. Like we are in a very great situation because of this update. So now let's talk, finally, we get to talk about everything else in the update. Starting with Buster. Oh my gosh, Buster, man. Buster's so cool. He's so awesome. I love that he's, like, essentially like a movie buff from the 80s. He's all about action, right? His aesthetic is so cool. Like I said, it's so 80s. It's just like, he's really awesome, right? But his game mechanics, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. For the first time ever, we have got a brawler that can shield his teammates, and this is gonna change the way that people play Brawl Stars. I, like, mark my word. In the competitive meta, like, I've got a feeling he's gonna be, like, a little bit too strong when he's released. I could be completely wrong about that, but I think he'll be pretty strong. Even if you're playing with randoms, I think he'll be really great. He's pretty easy to use. His strategy is straightforward. So long as people don't outrange him too much, then he's gonna be able to do tons of damage. But with teammates that know how to synergize with him, I think he's gonna be insane. In fact, I have a feeling that he's going to be banned in the Brawl Stars World Finals, like in Paris. I think that that's gonna happen. It just makes sense because he's the newest brawler, and they don't want to make things too crazy with the newest brawler and stuff like that. And I'm kind of bummed about it because I would have loved to have seen him get played by the pros, and I could, like, I wouldn't want him to be played in every single match, but, you know, you get where I'm coming from. Like, I'm way excited about this. How about the new environment? Love it, right? I wasn't 100% certain how Brawl Stars would bring another spooky environment into the game. We knew that they would because of Gus, like, unless they did something weird. I don't know. We knew they would, but I was worried that it was going to be filled essentially like Mortis's Mortuary 2.0. But they did such a great job with it, and I really love that it actually gives us some cool hints as to, like, what other kind of brawlers might fit in with Gus's trio. It's, in fact, like, there's some ghosts on there that like, one of the ghosts just straight up could be the newest brawler. We, like, for real. We also got some quality of life improvements. I love that we are getting some generic quests in this update. One of my biggest complaints about quests is how they've made the game feel a little bit more like you have to log in and play, rather than, like, you're getting reward for logging in to play, right? A big reason for this is the fact that there's a lot less freedom in how you play because you miss out on rewards if you're not completing quests. The best example for this is Power League. I've talked about this probably in my 100% honest update review for the past year, but I would love to be able to complete all of my quests with Power League, and that's just not reasonable. Generic quests, though, they do help quite a bit, and I do think that some improvements could still be made. Personally, I'd love it if the game would give you some more generic quests outside of your daily quests as well. We also got a new practice match feature that is especially useful when deciding if a new brawler is actually worth getting. I imagine the best way to utilize this is to decide whether or not the next Brawl Pass is worth buying, but I could also see this being a great feature for anyone who's new to the game and they want to, like, try out Crow or, like, mess around with it and see what they think of him, right? And or maybe figure out a way to counter Crow, right? Also, duplicate brawlers in friendly rooms. Such a small change that honestly I just am excited for, right? I think it'll make friendly rooms a lot more fun. Just excited to just go and mess around with people and stuff like that, and maybe potentially even do some videos in the future. Just, like, imagine a match where you've got 6 of the best Mortises in the world and they are playing 3v3 in all the game modes. Like, that just sounds like a fun video to make. Maybe I'll do it, except that I'm not a pro Mortis player. Okay, but what about the new skins? These skins, man, I am loving the new skins that are coming to this game. Trash Panda Penny is insane value for a tier 1 skin. Like, seriously. Inspector Colette will absolutely make certain that people will play Power League just for that skin. Frankengrom has one of the coolest supers in the game. Okay, let's be honest here. I don't normally like green skins because of my red-green color blindness, but like that first Blob Squeak skin, he's so cool, and it's a really good color of green in my opinion, which I have no right to say. Then we have Rage Quit Terra, such a great reward for the World Championship. But then there is Omega Box Daryl, which I have so many questions for. I mean, as far as skins, maybe it's not my favorite, but like Omega Boxes, what's the Omega Box? I'm excited about it. All the other skins are welcome into the game. They might not be as exciting as the ones that I listed, or at least I'm not personally very excited for them, but I am very excited to include them in my roster of random skins to switch between every single match. I always love more skins. I really do. I want them all the time. As for balance changes, I actually recently went to Finland for the Clash of Clans and Clash Royale World Championship, and I spoke with the developer who's in charge of balance changes, and I was just like, dude, congratulations on the most balanced meta. Like, seriously. I think he's doing such a fantastic job, and I like the changes that he gave in this update as well. Selfishly, as a content creator, I always like it when certain brawlers just are like insanely strong and throw the meta all over the place and everybody's angry and frustrated with the I do like that. I like personally, because I can create content around it, right? But I have a feeling most players don't like it when that happens, and I certainly don't like unbalanced metas in games that I'm not covering. So like, yeah, solid changes to the balance changes. So now it is time to rate this update from 1 to 10. And this is actually pretty hard to do for this update, I think. In terms of new content, we actually got pretty standard new content. One new chromatic brawler, a brawl pass with a new environment and some sweet skins to match. We also got some quality of life improvements, nothing like too crazy huge, but it's useful. And I suppose we did get 4 new gears that will impact 22 of the 61 brawlers in the game. So that's actually really exciting. But the bulk of this update was actually improving previous content that was already in the game. So this update didn't actually feel like we got very much new content. Like I said, that being said, I do think it was a very pivotal update, because at this point, end game progression with gears and gold is just in such a better spot than it's been for the entire past year. And now Supercell is in a very good position to release some fantastic content in future updates. Things that they've talked about, like a rework to PvE events, or like improving brawl boxes to be less luck based, or adding some sort of a system in the game like masteries to make it so that there's actually reason to really play brawlers hard and get good with them. But all of this is something that they will be working on in the future, and it is possible because of the position that this update actually puts the game in. And of course, we cannot forget the 63% bonus gold that we are getting from scrapping gear tokens, which was not expected. That by itself is huge. And I completely forgot about the report button. Okay, you know what? Maybe we did get some awesome stuff in this update. Okay, with that said, either way, I think a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10 for this update is warranted. It is arguably the best update we have gotten all year. Seriously, and honestly, you know what? I'm just gonna put this out here. I don't think I'm biased at all. It's not like I have a personal vendetta against Gears for any reason, and have for the past year. But yeah, I think 9 out of 10 is perfect. But I want to know what you guys think. How would you rate this from 1 to 10? Let me know in the comment section below, and make sure you subscribe for some more awesome Brawl Stars content in the future. And check out this video right here, where I provide the best 2 gears for every single brawler, especially now that you've got extra gold for you to be able to craft them all. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by. We will see you in Brawl Stars.